GSL.
Welcome to Code S with Haldor and Wolf. This is going to be sponsored, of course, by Monsieur J, as they say in Korean, Monsieur. I really like the way it's written in Korean is even difficult to pronounce, but I don't even know about that pronunciation, like the real one. Can you?
Monsieur.
Okay, that's what I thought, but you told me this before, in fact, but I already forgot.
Well, we don't have to pronounce it in French.
Yeah, we don't.
Thankfully, and we don't have to cast in French either. That would be kind of horrible. My French is quite rusty.
I know no French. I mean, I know bonjour.
Well, you have
Je m'appelle Wolf.
You have to know voulez-vous coucher avec moi, and
I know that phrase, but I don't know what it means.
Well, I'm not going to tell you.
I think I could kind of get it from the context, but we have a great...
What context? There was no context.
No, there was a context that you actually just like put contextual. You put contextuality on what we were talking about right now. You did. You contexted it.
I didn't even realize. Well, fair enough. But guys, this is about StarCraft 2. This is about Code S, and today we have a really exciting group and a couple of really good matches coming up in just a few minutes.
Yeah, just a couple. I mean, first of all, we're going to start with MVP versus TaeJa.
To warm things up a little bit.
Yeah, just to get things a little bit started, get you guys a little bit energized, and of course we're going to be following that up with Seed versus Violet. Violet making it through his first round. A lot of people surprised by this. But what can I say? This guy's been looking really good overseas, and he came back to Korea, popped in, just thought, I'll stick around until I lose, and, well, he didn't lose.
Yeah, exactly. So Violet is the only Zerg player that we have today. We have 2 Terrans, 1 Protoss, and a Zerg. So let's see how those guys are doing. The first match today, as Wolf just pointed out, will be our Terran versus Terran. It's going to be TaeJa versus MVP. And we have the first map. It's already, well, it's not loaded yet, but we have the lobby up. It is going to be in Tomb Valley.
Yeah, it's going to be in Tomb Valley. Starting things off there. It is loser picks for these maps, so it'll be really interesting to pick, to see what the players pick when they lose. Something else to note is that our group dynamic today is really interesting because we have, the winner of this match will play against the winner of the second group matches. But I think that's going to kind of set the pace of the group because MVP is obviously like the king of the group. It's hard to imagine him losing. So if he does lose to TaeJa, for example, it kind of shifts how the other players probably prepared. So I think this match kind of, in a way, sets the stage. If he loses, then someone's probably not prepared to play against him, at least not in the second round of games. You know the starting map. You may have prepared a different build. They may be preparing for TaeJa, for example. So anything can change in a group stage, but here are today's matches. Let's take a look. There they are. We listed them already. MVP, TaeJa, Violet, and Seed. And MVP, a 4-time champion. In fact, he just got 4 pins today. He's wearing them on his jersey. You'll see a shot of them later.
He won the last game against Protoss, probably the best GSL final ever. It was certainly the best Terran versus Protoss that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Now here's Violet. Speaks extremely good English.
Yes.
Learned it only by living overseas. Joined the Team Empire.
Yeah, he's doing really well. Probably one of the best Zerg players out there. And here we have Seed, of course. Another Protoss starting for the LGIM team.
And, as we haven't really mentioned, we have team kill possibility here. We have TaeJa and MVP, of course, both of them want to get out of the group. They may have to eliminate each other. Just depends on how the group settles up. But obviously, as we mentioned, the first match is going to be between MVP and TaeJa. TaeJa's, I wouldn't say he's the fan favorite over MVP, but he has a lot of fans. He's really well known. He used to play for the team, the clan Next, and then was on Zenix briefly before joining Slayers, and now has moved to Liquid. He's been around for a really long time.
On the other hand, we have MVP, the 4-time champion. The guy is a legend, and he is just so amazing. He is really, really good at this game, which he proved over and over again. Today, he has to prove it one more time, and we'll see if he's able to get out of the group, if he's able to get maybe even first place. The map is going to load. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the GSL Code S. Hold on, Wolf. And here we go, game number 1 in today's group. At the bottom right of Entombed Valley, the first map in this best of 3 series, we have our LGIM player in the red. This is
TaeJa MVP.
We'll get a shot of him. You can see those pins. Well, actually, he's only wearing one, it looks like, above his little shield there. There was a picture posted on Twitter earlier of 4 pins he had because of his championship. I guess it's hard to say if he's even wearing one, but it looks like he is. At the top left, in the blue, from the team Liquid, this player's ID is
Liquid TaeJa.
going gas first.
exactly. He opens things up a little bit more aggressive than MVP so far for our LGIM player. We don't see him in Refinery. He's probably going to go for the barracks into expand, whereas TaeJa opens up with the gas first and therefore opens himself up to a lot of possibilities what he could do here. We have the potential of Cloaked Banshees. That could also be just the Reactor Hellions that we've seen a couple of times against Terran. Also the follow-up with the Starport for the Medivac. A lot of possibilities here for TaeJa, but he's definitely going to be the aggressive player in this Mirror matchup.
Yeah, definitely so. And MVP is going for a 1-Rax expand. And when you go gas first versus 1-Rax expand, you have a lot of different opportunities to punish your opponent and punish them pretty hard. We'll see exactly what plan he's got. He may decide to go for a Cloak on his Banshees. That's something that's falling a little bit out of style these days. People have, in fact, been really heavily trying to use Reactor Hellions into different pushes in this matchup, so that may be something we see as well. If you don't make a bunker, you can really get hurt by this.
And of course, this is always a bit of a trade-off as well. We already have the SCV to the top left. TaeJa is, actually MVP is scouting, my bad. TaeJa, on the other hand, did not have an SCV in his opponent's base just yet. So MVP already knows about the gas first, he knows about the tech of his opponent. And the trade-off that I just mentioned is always the Terran player that is going for the early expansion will have the better economy. And as MVP scouted, he knows that there's no early aggression, he knows that there's a tech, but there won't be like any time of early Marines running in or whatever, so he can just defend right now. And the question is, how well will he defend against whatever attack TaeJa is going to launch? TaeJa has to trade here. He has to make sure that the early advantage the MVP is going to get now will be negated by his aggression.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The most important timing, since it looks like we are going to see Banshees coming out here, is the Viking timing. When does he get that starport, and does he make the Viking right away? If he doesn't get the starport immediately, he's going to struggle. You either need Stim or a Viking really to hold off properly microed Banshee Harass, and even if you have one of the two, it's very difficult, but without either, it's almost impossible. Now, MVP has double gassed, and he is getting his factory right now, and with the timing of this at cross positions, he will likely not have his Viking out right away when the Banshee arrives, but he'll have it very shortly afterwards, and he's going to know what's going on. He's already scouted what his opponent is doing, and from here, he should be okay. He's very carefully making a bunker just in case, since his SCV was killed before he could see, just to make sure he's not going to get attacked by Reactor Hellions.
MVP is playing this safe, and TaeJa, on the other hand, he did not commit too much to this. He did not get Cloak, he did not invest into the double gas early, so right now he builds the second refinery, but it's already too late to give the Cloak upgrade for the Banshee. He's just trying to harass his opponent a little bit with one Banshee and transitions right into an expansion. So he will have to make this Banshee worth its money.
Yeah, he really will. I mean, like you said, he has to do damage, he has to trade well, because he's invested so much into this. That SCV could have been taken out, but he's so lucky. He's even going to get in here and scout the main.
Oh, and actually TaeJa is getting a double expand right now. He's building another command center, and let's see if MVP is able to spot this. He's at block. Nice!
Oh, whoa!
He's building a barracks to block the add-on. Really, really well done. This will cost TaeJa a lot of time, and TaeJa is just, well, he's building this barracks, and this will block the add-on for eternity.
That is really cool, man. I really like that. An eBay block may have even been better, but I don't care, man. That was awesome.
But on the other hand, MVP did not scout the second command center. That's something that he did not see because it was built to the top right of TaeJa's main base.
And finally, we'll be able to switch. It looks like he is going to go into Reactor Hellions from here. And that will allow him, of course, to transition quite easily into mech play, which is something that MVP is known for, especially on maps like this. But TaeJa's going to be the one doing it this time, and he's got a third command center up. It's actually, as I say that though, he used his tech lab to research Stim. I thought he had not landed his barracks, but I was mistaken. So we're definitely not going to see mech play with Stim. That would be really strange.
And right now the Banshee comes into play for TaeJa. He's able to force MVP back a little bit, and now the Terran player for LGIM has conquered the middle of the map, has possession of the Xel'Naga watchtower, and is trying to push forward here a little bit. But TaeJa also set up a bunker, and he will just be ready for this, waiting, even repairing the Banshee here.
Yeah, back in at MVP's base, he is just rallying out Marines, and he's rallying Hellions without a reactor. He does finish a tech lab on his starport, and what we see out of that will really indicate what his next move is going to be. If he produces Banshees first, then I think it's just going to be that he wants some pressure on. But with this Raven that we're seeing, and with the barracks being lifted, and additional factories being added, MVP is definitely heading towards mech here. He may entirely cut Marine production. We have seen some Terrans recently, though, add a decent amount of Marines in because there's very little cost involved. You just get a few extra units out. Might as well use that production facility that you've made, or at least scout with it. See what MVP has planned to do. A lot of people just use their barracks literally to make add-ons as well, so we may see that.
MVP still does not really know about this third command center, and TaeJa is making good use of it. He currently has 43 harvesters already. He's using his ability to produce 3 SCVs at the time, and is doing quite a good job with his economy. Of course, he also has an extra mule, and his third is up a lot earlier than MVP's. But he has to be careful here. He needs to defend against whatever MVP is throwing at him. And MVP now with the double factory that Wolf already mentioned is just waiting for this mech army to man up. And that was a pretty bad mistake by TaeJa. He did not pay attention to the minimap, did not see MVP's units crossing the range of the Xel'Naga watchtower, lost his Banshee, and therefore also his means of controlling the map a little bit.
Yeah, if you have the watchtower held by a Banshee, yeah, your opponent doesn't have the watchtower, but Banshees can't hold watchtowers themselves because they're flying units, so I think that was just an oversight by him to not send anything down there. He just wasn't paying attention at the time. But right now, MVP's production is starting to kick in really, really nicely. He's got that 4th barracks, or rather 3rd factory. He's producing double Hellions off 1 factory and 2 additional siege tanks. No, actually, yeah, that is his 4th factory. I'm not wrong. That's actually just true. He's getting 4 factories on 2 base. That's a lot of factories, and these Hellions will be chased away. He scouts the blue flame, and that's going to let him know right away this is mech that he is facing.
And maybe I was a little bit cautious when approaching the Xel'Naga watchtower because he could not really spot how many units TaeJa had over there, so he was a little bit hesitant of attacking, but when he realized there were only 2 Hellions, he moved in right away and now took the middle of the map. He has map control, is just trying to have a glimpse at what exactly TaeJa is doing, but still without any clue about the 3rd base of his opponent, and the longer he waits, the better for TaeJa.
Now, TaeJa right now making an armory. This will allow him to get 2/2 upgrades. Pretty well timed here. And these Hellions do move away as soon as they see the bio army of TaeJa moving out. MVP, as was just shown moments ago, has 3 Vikings in his composition. They were at first being used to deter drops, so now he's seen this entire army moving out. He knows that TaeJa, with a 3rd command center, will not have enough units to actually be in the middle of the map and drop at the same time, so he's actually pulled his Vikings away.
The problem is that TaeJa currently has a huge lead in harvesters. His economy is so much better. He has a nice amount of siege tanks as well, and if MVP waits too long, then this economy will really kick in and enable TaeJa to get far ahead in this game. The worker supply right now at 73 for TaeJa, and his worker count is currently also kind of added to the mules that he also has. A lot of energy that allows him to scan to mule. And
oh man, MVP,
disregarding the
just gonna go.
Raven, I'm not quite sure if MVP can pull this off against the defense of TaeJa. These Marauders have a little bit of a hard time and trying to run as fast as possible.
MVP is going, man, with all of his SCVs pulled. Well, not all of them, but a ton of them being pulled right now.
And he has to.
Yeah, he continued Marine production for a little while here. He's hesitating a lot, though, and TaeJa, his upgrades are good. MVP does not have any upgrades for his mech army.
He needs to bait him into the sieged up tanks. This is the one thing that TaeJa can count on, his defense, the defender's advantage, because MVP obviously has the bigger army. He did not invest as much as in economy as TaeJa did regarding the harvester, so he has a really big army, a 20 supply elite army supply.
Here
and
we
TaeJa
go.
trying to flank here.
TaeJa is trying to flank, but his army just isn't big enough. He needs to rely on that high ground. He's trying to push MVP away so he can't get into a nice siege up position. TaeJa now has his tanks siege up on the high ground. MVP walks right into them. Point defense drone's going down. It's going to help out against the Marauders, but TaeJa's siege tanks really doing a lot of damage here.
MVP is certainly in trouble right now. He has the advantage with the Vikings, but with the 3 commands as TaeJa can scan over and over again to grant his tanks vision. and this is really a big problem now for TaeJa. Suddenly MVP down in supply, only 37 SCVs left against 72, and if TaeJa holds here, he will be able to take this game.
And it looks like he may. He's going to come in from the side flanking. The point defense run going to work. But MVP's units are very weak at this point, and it looks like he will actually take out the last of the tanks, and TaeJa will hold.
Well done by TaeJa here. He baits the tank fight with a few units to the right and then walks in with his army to the left.
GG.
GG as MVP yields in game number 1, and TaeJa certainly happy. Quite relieved here, takes the first map.
That was a weird way to attack with the composition MVP had, but I think it was just, I mean, the entire game was basically decided by the fact that MVP didn't see the command center.
Look at that smoke.
And since he didn't see that command center, he had no idea what to expect until later, and I think part of the problem for him was that he got into the main base even, and saw no command center, so he probably felt like very confident that there was no command center, when in fact there was, so he played a little bit more defensively than he should have.
He just misread what was happening because of what you just mentioned. He was in the main base of his opponent, he had an SCV there, and he thought he scouted everything. He knew kind of what TaeJa was doing at this point, but then suddenly he realized, okay, my opponent has had a command center for an eternity. It was on 3 bases, and if I build a command center now on my own, I have either to go really aggressive, get 2 command centers, and get a really good economy. I will left in a kind of weak position for attacks. I have to wait if my opponent is going to attack me, or I have to move out, and move out he did.
Yeah, and you know, it's really scary if you want to try to do that double command center transition, because when you're facing that type of really aggressive style where drops are available to you, like you said, you can never move out. You have no attack potential if you do that, and you're going to have to sit back and turtle. That allows your opponent to take the entire map. He can transition. He can try to go for one of those Viking switches and beat you in the air, and then go for Banshees, and eventually oftentimes battle cruisers. That's really scary, so he actually decided to go for the attack, and I like his choice. I respect it, but he had so much hesitation and didn't go soon enough, and TaeJa's had enough. His production had kicked in long enough. He had the 3rd base for so long.
The siege tanks were in a perfect spot, and MVP, he ran right into them. So with the defender's advantage, TaeJa was able to stop the attack of MVP, and then there was nothing left for MVP to do. He lost most of his SCVs. He was down to 37. His income was really, really bad. He only had 2 bases. So there was nothing for him to do except type GG, leave the game, and focus on map number 2.
Yeah, you know, it is going to be his map choice. It's going to be Daybreak. Part of the problem for him was he didn't see those tanks, right? He walked right into them, and once you take 1 volley with your entire army from 4 tanks, basically each part of your army has been hit once, you lost a lot of units, but also the rest of your units are low on hit points, so you can't even approach that anymore. You just have to like back away, and he lost his entire push power at that moment. He may have been able to break through otherwise, but TaeJa just was really well spread. He was prepared defensively, couldn't be done.
MVP is a great CVT player. TaeJa took the first map, but MVP has a 70% record in the Terran Mirror matchup, and we will definitely see him trying to claim map number 1. He does not want to go out in the first best of 3 today with a 0-2, so he will give his best to take down TaeJa now. But the Team Liquid player with a slight advantage here in the best of 3, he needs 1 more map in order to advance to the winners match.
Right, and you know, I was actually doing a lot of reading today online about what the fans were thinking about this group, and a small vocal percentage seems to think that this may be the season where MVP does not advance out of the round 16. A lot of people said, I think this group is really tough. He might not be able to get out. I'm not sure if he'll be able to do it.
But the thing about MVP is that he's a really cheeky player. We saw that in the games that he played in not only the last GSL final, but all the matches. He prepares so well. He has great builds. And this is what we are waiting for now, heading into map number 2 between MVP and TaeJa.